New York, a city of opportunity.
This harbour has been the gateway for millions of people around the world.
They sailed here to seek their fortune. Now, 6 skippers fly their flag.
In the fastest race on water!
6 athletes who lead their team through the Hudson, battling the currents, the tides and the wind shifts, battling each other. Their fortune? One step closer to a coveted trophy and a $1 million prize. Welcome to New York SailGP. A glimpse there of the stunning trophy that'll be handed out at the end of the first ever SailGP Championship. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. It is the midpoint of the season here in New York. The sailing area is the smallest we've seen. The wind is the strongest we've seen, and the teams are only getting faster. This is going to be one of the most dramatic races we've seen, and it's already started. I'm joined by the multiple America's Cup veteran, Matt Cornwell. Matt, it's been a dramatic warm-up to this first race.
Well, Ed, we were just talking about what a tough place this is to sail with these big stinger puffs. We can see them coming off the city here, and one's already blown one of the teams over. Unfortunately for the British tuning in, GBR, they're already out.
And the wind is, I've heard it described as just dropping out of the sky as it swirls around the skyscrapers, and we can see them now. They're rocked over on the side there. Is the race over for them today?
Yeah, it's going to be over for them. Unfortunately, there's going to be water ingress into electronics. These boats are really, really complex, and that means they won't be able to carry on. Plus, the wing is a bit damaged.
So let's take a look at the leaderboard as it stands coming into New York. So just 4 points separating the top 2, Australia and Japan. And then Dylan Fletcher's British team sitting in the middle there, and just 8 points separating the bottom 3. And with a lottery of conditions here, this could really change today. As always, we've got 5 fleet races, 3 today, 2 tomorrow, and then we'll finish with the winner takes all match race. As you can see, it's nearly time to get the first race underway though, so I'm going to hand you over to our commentary team. It's the double Olympic gold medalist Shirley Robertson and the Australian oracle on foiling, Jodie Shields.
New York's going to be incredible.
We're looking forward to racing in front of the hometown crowd. 6 boats that close at those speeds is going to be fun to watch.
The higher you foil, the closer you are to crashing.
The scariest moment I've ever had on a yacht.
It's going to be fast and furious.
New York. After the start, the boats reach over to the first mark, then they go downwind to the bottom gate, upwind to the top gate. They repeat this 3 times, then reach into the finish. The weather in New York is currently around 22 degrees. Wind is between 16 to 24 knots with a slight chop. Hello, good people, and welcome to Race 1 SailGP here in New York City. My name is Jodie Shields, and I am joining commentary with double gold medalist Shirley Robertson. Shirley, the drama has already started before the racing has.
Oh, Jodie, the race for $1 million has come to New York City, and it is without doubt going to be the most intense and exciting so far. Edge of the seat action, guaranteed.
This racetrack is so small and the wind is all over the place. We've been watching the lead up to this race come on. The boats are having all sorts of dramas, just trying to work out the racetrack, work out where the wind's going to come through the Jersey side. It's just hitting the water and exploding. We've got 25 seconds to go, and it looks like there's no wind in the box, but out wide there's plenty on.
I mean, how do you judge your time and distance? Electronics are useless. It's real seat of the pants sailing here.
And look here, we've got Australia. Tommy Slingsby's trying to get that pin end. He's going for a bit of a ride. Japan is in the middle. Everyone's a little bit tentative because they just know what they're about to go out to in the middle of this course. Looks like Australia might get the whole shot, and we are off and racing. Japan in the middle, France, a nice job up the top. China not foiling, USA not foiling. USA have got a new wing trimmer, so they've got a little bit on. Australia, nice job there, off and running. Here's the battle already between Australia and Japan.
look at the wind difference, Jody. I mean, Australia just came a cropper there. They had a massive punch of wind.
You can see there in the on the screen, there's no wind where Australia are. Japan have been lucky here. They've been able to go through and keep foiling, and it looks like they're going to get to this first mark in first place. France are nearly going to go over. They need to save that. Very close moment there for Team France. What's happening is the wind is coming over the shore and literally exploding on the top of these guys' wings, and they cannot even see the wind hit them. So they're almost sailing blind. It is very, very sketchy out here, that's for sure. USA coming into third spot. China into fourth. France look like they've not coming out this spot. They might have done something wrong. But just coming on to a replay here, you see Japan coming along. And they're trying to get through around this mark. You look at Australia in behind them there. Japan jibing off early. And it is just this breeze everywhere. We've got still Japan leading the race, Australia coming over to the right-hand side. If you notice that the bottom mark is very, very close to the city side, so they've had a lot of dramas trying to set up where they're going to do this race, Shirley.
I mean, we can see on the helicopter shot, we can see the dark patches, the big puffs of breeze that are coming over those buildings in New Jersey and hitting the boats. And it looks like Japan have done the best job in linking up this wind because they're coming down to the bottom mark. Very, very short course, half a nautical mile from the bottom mark to the top. And it's Japan going in to the bottom mark in first place, followed very closely by Australia, who, interestingly enough, are going to go on that left-hand side where it's very, very short over to the boundary. So China coming in third. Nice job there with Phil Robertson and his boys. They need a bit of redemption out of San Fran, that's for sure. Massive difference in pressure from 5 knots to 30 knots. We've seen everything out on this racetrack today. And what they were saying in the lead up to all this was if they can go to the left-hand side, it's almost one leg up to the top because it's so... The breeze just coming out and just exploding on the racetrack. So it'll be interesting to see if Japan can go all the way to the top. Poor old America, they are stuck in the middle of the course with no breeze and really struggling to get back down to this bottom end. Of course, Jody, difficult build-up today for the Americans. They lost their vital, their throttle man, the guy who controls the wing, out injured. Got someone brand new in, the shore manager. So really, the hardest conditions for him. Just trying to learn how to sail these boats in absolutely sketchy conditions. And they look like they are just sitting it down. And who knows, they might decide to pull out of it. They're actually going upwind by the sounds of the onboard. We might just stick with them if we can hear them. Yeah, it sounds like they're not going to maybe continue in this race. We'll soon see. Australia have tacked off the New York City side of the course and come back into and listen on board with Australia here. Kyle Langford doing all the talking. He is in charge of performance, of keeping the boat going in the best mode possible. And have a look at the lead change here. Australia have got something off that New York side, and Japan, who tacked over off the right-hand boundary, have got nothing. Just as we said that, Australia have flattened out, and it will be Japan's turn to get this breeze. But Jody, it is never over. And for the sailing fans at home watching this, do not go away. Anything can happen here in New York City. These boats, 25 metres apart. One's doing 27 knots, the other's doing 5 knots. That's how gusty it is here in this racetrack. Australia, who was second at the bottom mark, have now got a 100-metre lead within no time of their nearest rival in Japan, and Australia look like they're going to the left-hand top mark, and then they've got no run out from the top mark down to the boundary. It's very, very close, so they need to get out of here as quick as they can. You know, Tom Slingsby did well there. He strung together the puffs, which has got to be the ideal here, and of course much confidence in his team, can sail in any condition. And have a look at that. Japan are in absolutely nothing. They cannot foil, they're hardly moving. Meanwhile, Australia are heading downhill, probably about 25 to 30 knots on what at this stage could be a quite comfortable lead because no one else seems to be in breath. And there we are, Australia just absolutely flying straight down the course in what looks like a really nice puff there, Shirley.
So we're probably going to go left turn. Hard gust here, chop a puff with it. And let's stand by. I'm going to take it pretty safe here. Coming.
And you heard there the comms. We'll just stay trying to listen to the guys as they go through this jibe.
Turn there. Let us know know about the lock
They're keeping it safe, Jodie, aren't they? Because you cannot see these puffs, and they've got huge intensity.
And here we go. The Chinese and Japanese have finally made it back up to this top mark. They're only 150 metres away, but they're absolutely drifting up here. And it almost looks like they're on separate tacks. One breeze is coming from the left, one breeze looks like it's almost coming from the right. Japan have got no wind at all. China trying to tack in around that left-hand top gate.
I think we may well see the Japanese go for that right-hand gate and just to avoid another drive.
And China around, they need to get out of there. Good work by Phil Robertson. He didn't have a very good race down in San Francisco, and he is absolutely up for a redemption. Australia are down around that bottom mark and heading back up the top for the second time with a nice lead, almost a full leg ahead, Shirley.
Phil Robertson, match racing world champion, used to sailing in this kind of, cityscape, tough event, and I think this place will really play into his hands.
And look at this, Japan are over to the left. They're all but just drifting out with the tide, same as China. They're in no breeze, yet you look down the bottom end of the racetrack. Australia is still, well, they just dropped off the foils just as we were speaking, but there's in pressure. Japan now picking up wind from the left-hand side, so it was all about the right not long ago.
Nice and low, Parker.
Try and bro.
Yep. Beautiful. Okay, next start. Slowly lifting here.
And both boats now have picked up that breeze. That was really nice comms there from on board of Japan. You just see the concentration level of Ian Jensen there, just trying to make sure that their boat stays up. They don't want to be like Great Britain and put that boat in the water, that's for sure.
You don't normally hear Nathan so much, but now there is so much going on, he's having to communicate.
And the breeze looks like it's come way out of the right-hand side all of a sudden because Australia attacking in to head back up towards the top. Very, very close here between Japan and China coming into this bottom mark. Looks like China might have the inside running. Oh, very, very close. Who's going to get the zone first? And Japan is straight through underneath them. And Japan have taken it. And around they go, just in front of China. So that was pretty sketchy there for a while, Shirley.
It didn't matter in the end, did it? Because Nathan and the Japanese team just went round the outside with more pressure and heading off to the New Jersey side of this racetrack with great speed.
Trying to chase down that Australian boat who are probably almost at the top mark now. You just Nathan out, he's looking over his shoulder, seeing where China is. And there you have it, Australia up and around the top on their way back down. A beautiful shot there of the boats just up and out. You can see how out of control they are, trying to keep these things level because the gust of winds are just coming at them and it's hitting the top of the wing. It's almost impossible for these sailors to see where this wind's coming from.
Keeping these boats flying and keeping them on their wheels requires a coordination of three people and the grunt of those grinders, and to coordinate that when you cannot anticipate what's going to happen next is as tough as it gets.
And you see here they're back into that left-hand no wind area. Yet Australia are coming back downwind, foiling. They're going to probably split these two boats in a jibe here. So this is their last turn down to the bottom mark for Australia. They need to go back up the top and then across in towards New York for the finish and a win for race one, but no one's going to call it yet, Shirley. There's still lots to happen on this race.
Great start, though, for the Australian team. I mean, many people said they sort of jacked that victory in San Francisco. It was handed to them because the Japanese had gear damage, but they've come out firing here and looking for that victory.
Yeah, so if they can keep this form going, they'll get the chockies after this race, but it's still got lots to go. It's good to see that the USA is still racing. France are parked up at the very top of the course in absolutely no wind as well. On board here with the Rome. We'll listen to the comms here for a while.
Right turn, yeah. Right turn it is. My rig or yours? My rig, and yours for the turn. Okay. Okay. We're going right turn. So is your wing on? Yep, I got him. Yep.
They're having to talk through every manoeuvre. Jeff Causey standing in for Riley Gibbs.
Australia just got hit by a massive gust just as they come into the thing, and they literally slid sideways. They just hit the zone, the boat slid sideways, and I think they might have just dodged a bullet there, to be honest, Australia. That was pretty scary. You see him just trying to get up now. That's very dangerous. Bow goes right down. The flight controller, Jason Waterhouse, is having all sorts of dramas trying to keep this boat level and flat. They've got so much on these guys at the moment. Just as we talked, we said they've got the race won. They nearly seen it there. They nearly capsized. That could have been another big moment in this race.
It is all on, Jody. You have to coordinate the steering, the flight control, the level of the platform and the wing all at the same time. And when the variables are changing so much, it's almost impossible.
France there and lots of breeze, just put the windward hull in. So what you're finding is they're controlling the boat for what they think is about 10 to 15 knots. Yet at the top of the rig is probably 25 to 30 knot gusts hitting them, and the boat just all of a sudden gets so out of balance and out of control. These are the best sailors in the world, and they're finding it hard. That's how sketchy these conditions are.
Good pressure out of this, Kirby. Copy. My wheel.
San Francisco, Jody, was all about speed and accuracy, but here it's a whole different sport. This is about reactions, about, you know, keeping the boat on its feet. It's tough.
I think it's cross your fingers and hope for the best, to be perfectly honest, because who knows what this is going to throw out in this course. Phil Roberts is still pushing hard. Oh, bow goes in. That's when it all gets ugly. As soon as that bow can load up, the boat can just trip straight over the top of itself, and they have a Great Britain moment, which is not what we want to see. Japan in a beautiful bit of breeze there, getting some real big numbers coming down this bottom of the course. Yet Australia are slowly but surely working their way up. Maybe one more tack into that top, and then the big reach in towards New York for a very happy win for them guys. They'd be glad to get this one under the belt, that's for sure.
So much chat on board. We're not used to that from the guys at the front. You know, they have to communicate what's happening. And we heard Jason there saying, you know, it's getting funky, it's going to get difficult.
Yeah, the guys are very, very nervous about sailing in these very, very short course, very, very tricky wind direction. And it's certainly showing from the comms on board. Straight attack there for their last time. And what they've got to be careful of here, you'll see on the screen there, there's light airs, light patches of air right on this next turner mark. 20 metres in front of that, there's 15 to 20 knots. Up above that, it could be 30. Now, this is going to be that real power zone angle coming into this finish mark. So anything could happen here, Shirley.
Okay, coming into more pressure here, boys. Okay, line patch at 2, 1, and big puff on at 3, 2, 1, puff on. My bailout's up. Big soft spot, boys, at 3, 2, 1, hit it. Nice work, and puff back on at 3, 2, 1, big one here. And we're going to do a left turn at the top end of the line. Copy. Pretty steady breeze here.
Massive work for the grinders, Jody. I mean, that wing sheet is in and out constantly.
Their shoulders will definitely be burning after this, that's for sure. Look how loose this boat is coming across into this finish line. They've got swell to contend with, they've got everything, they've got gusts of wind, and they've got the wind of this race just sitting there. They just need to get this boat through.
And they've got a hard wall. They have to make a massive left-hand turn here.
You watch the bow of that boat just going up and down. Jason Waterhouse has got his work cut out. And there they go through the finish line. A very, very relieved bunch of sailors on that boat, that's for sure. They'll be loving the fact that they can now have a break and have a restock. But there's still a race to be had, and it's Japan in second doing nothing. They're not foiling at all. They are just almost drifting up into this top mark. Yet Australia went across there at Mach 2 speed. This race course is just a serious lottery at this stage. Look at China coming back. They could...
Potentially overstood here.
China could come right back here. They're in a bit of pressure. They could come back and steal a position out of France. This could be a very interesting finish here. Japan just tacking over now. They've still got one more tack. You see him just entering the zone now. Surely they've got to tack around and head into that finish. But the race is on between France, China for the third place. France now is just picking up a little bit of pressure.
Well, we just heard on the onboards of Japan that the pumps are overheating. They're adjusting everything so much. Now they're going to have to rein that in a bit.
So Japan have finally got through their last manoeuvre. You hear Nathan Outteridge here talking about this pressure. We might just try and listen to this a little bit. It's interesting, Shirley, they're not as active on the chat as what the Australians were on this reach at this stage.
Big tough, down at the end of the park. Big tough. I think we'll be okay, Parker. Copy that.
The coordination between all the sailors, you can just see it there. They depend on everyone to do their job at 100% accuracy. 33 knots coming in. And they just struggling to foil a little bit there.
Happy just to cruise here, no stress from behind.
And you hear there from Nathan Outteridge, he's happy just to get this one under the belt as well. There's some nervous sailors out there. They're just about to get a big bit of pressure. Coming in towards the finish. Australia are having their lollies and their chocolates. They're all right. They got their number in, but Japan are just going to go over the finish line now for second spot.
Nice job, guys.
So now we've got to just hope to see where this race is between France and China in for third place.
Over about 10.
So Nathan there with a little bit of relief. Shirley, second. Take second pretty much every day, wouldn't you? Unless Australia's in front of you.
I'm not sure. This is a battle that's going to run all the way to Marseille, and you know, in many ways he feels robbed from San Francisco and wants redemption. But you know, he survived that first race, and it was not straightforward.
Well, there you have it. China is in third. France still had another lap to go, so we never picked that up on the thing. That's how they must have just sat in a hole somewhere, and they are still got to go down to the bottom. So it's China. Phil Robertson, who had a very bad San Francisco, he will admit it up and down. He's in a bit of trouble here. He needs to make sure this boat settles down. That is very, very sketchy. They're just going to leave the hull down and just go through that finish line. That could have been another moment there, Shirley. It's just coming from everywhere. We just can't pick what's going to happen.
So easy to get out of whack, especially for the less experienced.
We need some t-shirts. We survived race one. We survived.
Well, hopefully we have the winner of that race, Tom Slingsby. Tom, what a race, what an opener here in New York City.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy conditions out here. As you can see, we've capsized to keep it safe and get around the track, but fortunately for us, we sailed really well in that one.
We can hear and we can see the tension on board, but perhaps just describe how tough the conditions are.
Honestly, there's no way to possibly explain the way we're trying to get through this today. I've never sailed in conditions like this in my life. I don't think on a boat like this. It's out of control. It's sort of anywhere from 0 knots to 25 knots in the gas. We're on the edge of control all the time, and even though we had a big lead in that one, we were definitely far from happy, and we were sort of trying to nurse the boat round and make sure we finished.
Are you racing, or are you just trying to get through this?
Racing, but with a lot of conservatism. We don't want a capsize today. Team GBR, who's third in the overall point score, they've just had a bad. Their day's over, and we don't want that to happen to us. So we've just got to nurse the boat round a little, but try to keep those points coming in. It's tough when we get next to a boat. We want to pass them. Outteridge, it's hard for me to take my foot off the accelerator.
Well, thanks, Tom, and good luck for the next race. Thank you.
Cheers, thank you.
Wow, that was as dramatic as it was billed to be, Matt. The conditions dictating the style of everyone sailing out there.
Yeah, that was loose at the top end of that term. I mean, we knew the conditions were going to be really difficult here, but we saw it all going on there. The big puffs were just causing havoc for the teams. Australia, though, I mean, what a great job they did. They seemed to know how to stay in the big pressure and when to push and when to back off. Brilliant work.
Well, it was interesting hearing from Tom there, and he was saying that he was sailing conservatively. Yes, he was trying to race, but at the same time he was preserving the boat and making sure that they brought it home.
Yeah, definitely at some moments, but other moments you saw them just ripping through those puffs. They looked way more comfortable than everyone else out there. But also, I think with Nathan and with Outteridge and the Japanese team, they did sort of find some little holes in the middle too. So they were still pushing hard, but just didn't sail the course quite as well.
Well, there's an interesting parallel to draw between the two. In the Australian boat, you definitely have the most amount of experience from the grinders at the front right back to Tom Slingsby at the back. They've all spent a lot of time in these boats. Nathan Outteridge is still blooding the grinders at the front of the boat, but he was able to keep pace at certain points of that course.
Yeah, and those two teams above everyone else have the most experience in those back three guys, and that is so important in these conditions because those puffs come in and all three of those guys, the helmsman, the wing trimmer and the guy on the foils, the flight control, they need to be able to adjust automatically without thinking about it, that natural instinct that you have when you sail these boats a lot more.
Is there an element in these kind of conditions where the impetus and the priority of control goes to the wing trimmer and the flight controller then?
Oh, no question. I mean, the helmsman will do what he can to soften those big gusts, but you need your wing trimmer to be on point, taking the power out the wing, but also you're going to pick up speed, so immediately the boat's going to start flying higher. So the flight control, he's going to have to get the rake off the boards, get those boards back and not, you know, so the things don't pop out in the water and skid off.
Okay, we'll start looking a little bit lower down the field. I think there was a round of applause on the shore here for Billy Besson managing to save France on the start line, but that showed you what can happen if you're not alert and ready for these conditions.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's really hard to see these puffs coming in. I'm sure they were looking for them, but they got hit by one of the whoppers there, and it didn't seem they were, you know, it looked to me like they still had the not enough twist in the wing, and they got to the point of no return. I thought they were going to go. Fortunately, they managed to hold it together, but they looked a little shaken after that too. It definitely dictated their race from then on. They were on the back foot.
It's one of those things that you don't get a sense of. In a traditional sail, it'll fold off, but in these boats, the wing is rigid, so it will not give, it just generates power.
We are lucky enough to watch these boats do it all again. Race 2 is on us. I'm here again with Shirley Robertson. Shirley, that was insane what we just watched.
Yeah, and you're right, we're about to watch it all again, and we've just seen the Japanese have got a penalty against the Australians, port and starboard, so they're going to have to start one boat length behind the Australians.
And who knows, I don't know whether that's going to be a hindrance or a help in this pressure, Shirley. We just heard from Tom Slingsby. He said this is the hardest racing he has ever done. That man has sailed around the world on every single boat, so that is telling you something. These guys have got so much on.
Well, Jodie, that gust that took out the British boat was 37 knots and literally came out of nowhere. Expect the unexpected.
But we have a race unfolding right in front of us. And as you can see, Japan are wearing their penalty, so they have to wash it off once the race has started. They have to be one boat length behind, the rest of the fleet. I don't think that's going to be a problem. Kirby's with his new wing trimmer. It looks like he's going to get a great start here, and they are off. Well done to Rome and the USA team there, Shirley. Great start.
Really tough for him, you know. He's got an alternate in, and you can see he's struggling already to keep the boat flying.
Straight off the start, it is Billy Besson and then a French team leading. He'll be so happy that he's got this boat in the first position. They have struggled a fair bit, but look at the boats. They're going up, they're foiling. Within 5 meters, they're just dropping off in the lulls. They have got so much on. I don't know how good your French is there, Shirley, but I'm pretty sure you're saying...
I think he's saying there's a big puff of wind for this fairway. We can see it from this helicopter shot.
Yeah, I'm running with that as well. That's exactly what he said. So French in first. Japan, after having their penalty, they're in the second spot. So there's the lottery. It's the first reach. They've started one boat length behind everyone. Already they're in second spot, but that's going to change. We know that for a fact. China in third, Australia in fourth. USA, after leading off the start, sitting it down at dead last. We've had 3 lead changes in one leg already. It's insane. Australia, Japan, China, all trying to get over this right-hand side. France have jived off in nothing, absolutely nothing. USA are coming down, and they've just had a moment. They just put the bows in. The wind is just exploding. Looks like they've actually missed the bottom gate here, Shirley. What's going on there?
I think absolutely right. Just as they were going to jibe, they got hit by that big puff of pressure. And so slightly late on the jibe coming across, but still going at a good pace. Look at the Australians. 2 hulls in.
So the team that caught the penalty off the start started last. First bottom gate, they are into the gate in first position. Great race between China and Australia. France are in fourth, USA in fifth. Japan now around the bottom left-hand mark. Australia coming in super hot. This has got, look at that, so much pressure on that top of that wing. Big bear away round up there for Australia. Oh, so much happening. Yeah, 3 metres behind the France are both hulls down.
Keep it simple, keep it simple. You can see just ahead of the Japanese, going to sail into a load of pressure.
Just have a listen. We're just going to go to this chit-chat of all these boats. Listen to the amount of communication. Everyone is just full noise on their comms here.
Okay, but that's the pressure. Where's Leyline? Little press.
The best sailors in the world don't know what's going on. God help the rest of us. It's this. So it's all changed now. Japan still leading. China in second, USA in third, possibly just in front of Australia once they tack off that other shore. And you can hear Nathan there just coaching them all, just always coaching them to try and keep the boat steady. Looks like China are in a nice bit of pressure off their hip there.
Jodie, there's a lot of decisions to make, and normally you can just kind of follow the playbook. But in this sort of racing, you're going to have to discuss it. You're going to have to make sure everyone knows what's going on.
Looks like there were 30, 40 degree wind shifts, 10 metres apart. So Japan tacked over. China's now tacking over. So they're setting themselves up to the top end of the course here. Japan should still be leading this race, but it's going to be very, very close if China can come over and maybe split tacks. Japan up and foiling now.
You know, Jodie, we wondered after San Francisco when China nearly capsized if Phil Robertson had lost his bottle, but he is sending it. He is relishing this type of racing here in New York City.
It's a racer's racetrack, that's for sure, because there's so much going on. Australia foiling in there beautifully. Probably in about third spot. Maybe if they can nail their tack, they'll put a little bit of pressure on these two guys. Japan coming across look like a bit of speed. China looks like they're a little bit soft there, Shirley. And as you can see, they've got 15, 20, 30 metres apart.
I think a little bit of wing wash also of the Japanese, but still got plenty of pace.
Yeah, Japan's got the pressure in now. China's going to be comfortably still in second. Australia will probably not go to this left-hand mark. I'm guessing they're just going to go straight over to that right gate and then just head down and maybe pick something up along that New York City side.
2, 1, go on.
Oh, bow down there in China. They need to be very careful the top of the rig doesn't cop. That is one of those helicopter gusts like you see, because that will just literally trip them over because the bow's in the water and it just the boat can't accelerate. And look at Australia go. They went to that right-hand gate like I thought, and they are in an absolute gale out there.
You've got to link the pressure, link the gusts.
China and no breeze at all. Australia going to jibe very, very soon, and will be smoking down into this bottom gate, just like Japan are. Look at that. Jib's doing nothing.
Coming back into it now.
They're actually saying they're taking the hydraulic pressure or the hydraulic operation out of the jib trim because they're overheating their pumps too much. So they're just going to set their jibs up the way they wanted for a gust and then do the rest of the pumps. China around now. Oh, bows in. Bow, very careful, up and down. This is where they've got to try and not overreact. It's very easy for Luke Parkinson there in the flight control to overcorrect and try and bring the boat down. He just needs the foils to do it himself. Nathan's lost his goggles there, so he's obviously got a big bit of water smacking him in the face. Australia in a massive amount of breeze there. Look at the amount of wing twist they're carrying there, Shirley. 45 degrees they can carry from the bottom to the top. I reckon they're carrying the whole lot. Oh!
Split sides though, Jodie, they have split sides, so tactically it is all on between first and second here. Who is going to get the pressure to get to that top mark?
And you can see just behind Australia that big line of wind that Australia came down and had that pretty hairy moment as they went up and around, but now they're struggling the foil, so they're back in one of those real light patches. Still heading over to the left-hand side, so as you said, Shirley, massive split here between the two. Remember, this is only the second upwind. There's still a fair bit of racing to go yet. Japan look all right off the New York side, that's for sure, at this stage.
You could see Sam Newton, the grinder on the Australian boat, gasping for air. They have never worked so hard. They're making so many adjustments to that wing sheet. They are just constantly grinding.
I think they'll have to replace them pumps tonight. They'll put brand new pumps in there because these things will be dead set worn out by the time we've had 3 races here in New York. So here we are on board with Japan, just going through the tack now. So they possibly should set themselves up here for the top end of the course. And they're going to come across and look at Nathan there, just checking out to see where the Australians were. Nice close race here between China, France and USA. Looks like they're going over to the left-hand side of the course, Shirley.
What a race this is turning out to be for third spot. This will run and run. Phil Robertson, the Chinese team, had the most amount of practice here and definitely working on the communication between the flight controller, the wing trimmer and the helm, and I think that's paying real dividends today.
And that shot there off the helicopter just shows an unbelievably great example of how much wind, no wind, wind, no wind, wind, no wind there is in this course. There is so many dark lines and then so many no patches of breeze that these guys, like you said before, have to try and link all the breeze up, and it's just choosing impossible, finding them impossible.
We've seen a lot of the Manhattan skyline, but the other side, the side where we're filming from, is New Jersey. The buildings there, they're not to be sniffed at, are they? Some of them are nearly 300 meters, really affecting, shadowing and funneling the breeze that are hitting the bows.
We might just listen to Japan here on the onboard because they sound like they're a little bit sketchy about this job coming in.
You're working hard. This is second top mark. Where's your mark, Slinger, when you can? Yeah, copy.
We're actually on board with Australia there, so
real good pressure on the mark. Yeah, just gonna lay it. Trim us up.
You can hear Kyle Langford trying to keep the calmness in the boat as well, so everyone doesn't get too overinflated, too excited about what they're trying to achieve here.
Kyle Langford, the wing trimmer, he's 100% responsible for the performance. So he'll be calling the modes and the adjustments, even the steering, just coordinating the 3 people who are essentially in charge of the pace of this boat.
But have a look at that. They look like they're in about 4 knots of breeze. They're just getting up and foiling. Need about 6 to 8 knots of breeze to foil. Yet Japan now probably 2/3 of the way down to the bottom mark, and they're sailing off. Look at China. They went around in pretty good spot. They're very close, all these 3 boats. China's in no breeze. France is in the middle, of course. They've got wind now. USA, who are currently coming last, if they can tack off that shore, they can pull 3 spots. Just like that, it is just such a snakes and ladders.
You can't get frustrated, though. You have to just take a deep breath and wait for whatever hits you. You cannot get stressed about this.
And it looks like USA tacked in a real big header, so they went around, literally sat it down, and they're only just starting to get the boat moved now. Billy Besson and his French team have done the same thing. They are tacking, and they're wound it up pretty quick. Looks like they might be able to get it up and go foiling. But it is Japan who have got down at the bottom mark for the final time in this race. They've just got one more upwind to do and then into the finish. But I'm not going to call them as the winner yet, because who knows what's going to unfold in the next couple of minutes. Look at the breeze they're in.
Nathan Outteridge is throwing that boat around. I mean, he seems more confident with it in this race. He's found his feet.
Just going all the way up the shore. Yep.
Australia are catching up, but they're coming back. The rivalry is continuing. How does it always work out that these pair of boats always seem to be right next to each other? It is incredible.
This will run and run. I mean, they're such high quality on all boat. There is not a weak link anywhere.
One down. Really good breeze out.
And you see there, Tom just really turns the boat pretty hard to get that thing around. Japan look like they've picked up a little bit of a left-hand shift in the middle of the course, which is going to take them straight up towards the marks where they really would be hoping can get to as quick as they can, because they don't want to see that green boat with that beautiful kangaroo on it.
He's looking, Jody. He's looking behind.
He's worried.
He knows exactly where the Australians are.
Yeah, he's definitely worried, as you should be, because you're going to sit down. And you just heard Nathan there that the Aussies just sat down as well. We might just listen in to see what their train of thought is here.
Look at the Aussies, Jody, 4 knots of boat speed. As you said, they need 15, 16 to get up on the wheels.
So Japan got through that little patch. They are just foiling, putting some serious meters in their Australian arrivals at this stage. Australia aren't careful. China could come and steal second spot. Anything is possible at this stage. Looks like there's a little bit of breeze coming in towards the Australians. You've just seen the dark patch right in front of the Australian boat, so they're just about to get this breeze now.
Jason Waterice, the flight controller, we just saw him there. He is fully locked in to watching that leeward bow. In San Francisco, he didn't even know how they were getting on. To ask at the finish, he's so concentrated. And today, his eyes are not coming off that bow at all.
And Japan have tacked for the final time, coming in to the top mark in not much breeze. So they're just hoping they can turn this boat around, head that thing in towards the finish, and get over the finish line for a first win here in New York City. With very limited time on the water for most of these teams, especially Japan and Australia. They've done not much practice race here in New York, that's for sure.
Big dark patch to their left, and here it is, hitting the top of the rig.
And they're bearing the boat away there just to get it up and go falling up. And that's where the flight controller has to catch the lift. As the boat increases, he's got to catch it with his...
coming up into the lull. Well controlled there.
Beautiful work there by Nathan. Just give... You hear Parko there saying, I love this job. They're still having fun, these boys. And there it is, Japan over for a win in race number 2 here in New York City. That, once again, Shirley.
Nice, Yuki.
No. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that was a very, very tricky little race once again, Shirley. Australia got to win, what, 50 metres of them at that bottom mark, and they've beaten it by ages. 22 seconds at this stage, Australia still aren't at the top. So they've just, the importance of trying to link these breezes, as you said before.
Link the puffs, but also, you know, first and second, they can really mold the boat well.
We're going to see China here. Watch this, is going to go through a jibe. They've got their flight control not quite right. Big nose dive in, lots of water into the boat. Oh my God, have a go at how much water's in that leeward hull. They've got fairing damage. Here we go, on board again. Comes through, Phil's trying to steer the boat out. Wings off. Oh, they're so close. And you see Phil, he's asking for the wing to come on. So he's trying to get the power out of the wing so it doesn't trip the boat over. But they've got some damage on that front of that fairing. That was very close to a capsize.
He did well to save that, Jody. But look at this. The battle for second place continues.
Australia are coming in and around that top mark. Phil Robertson and his boys, I can't get over how close they were to losing that boat. We don't want another capsize. We've already lost Great Britain today. We don't want to reduce this fleet anymore. We want to see race 3 with as many as we can.
And nice puff building in 3, 2, 1, big puff.
Kyle Langford just calling this. We're going to listen to the Australians all the way in here.
2, 1, pretty steady for the finish. Landing us out a little bit. And light patch. Turning up in 2, 1, turning up.
Right at the end, they just put the bow in just in case someone was pretty hot and they all wanted to get a drink, as we say. So Australia in for second spot, and the race is on for third. And at this stage, it looks like that it could be France coming in and attacking to the top mark. Billy Besson would love to get a third. He's got to finish, but remember in Australia he forgot to finish, so he's got to make sure that he goes through the finish line. Fairly fundamental. Here he goes. And I don't know French, but I think he said, "We're third, boys and girls. Let's keep going. Let's get this thing through."
I'm not sure. I don't think he's counting it yet, Jody. But a good, the voice you're hearing now is Marie Rieu. She's the flight controller. She also sails with Billy in the Olympic class, the Nycra. They're an incredible double act.
Okay, boys, so that's the finish, boys. Easy wing here. Let's just keep it nice and slow. So,
Another incredible race out on the Hudson River, backed by that iconic Manhattan skyline, which is, it's got to be said, playing havoc with the wind. It's swirling around those buildings and then dropping out of the sky. But Matt Cornwell joining me here. It's incredible how well these skippers are dealing with those huge gusts of wind.
Yeah, but particularly the guys that who are winning the races, Slingsby and Outteridge, just showing their talent again. Experience as well, obviously, is helping these situations. But yeah, they're actually starting to push the boats really quite hard now, which is impressive.
Good to see Billy Besson in the French boat as well, in third place there. Great result for him, but it's not even more so after that near capsize in the first race.
Yeah, I was really thinking that too. He nearly capsized twice in that first race, like really close both times, and it seemed to rock them a lot. It seemed at one point they weren't even going to carry on racing. Perhaps it was that bad, but they did. They got round the course. They sort of nursed it round. But that race, they suddenly found a little bit more confidence, started whipping the horse a little bit more, and we're in the race, really.
Well, Shirley, we are already into race 3. There has been so much action. My head is absolutely spinning.
I'm feeling their tension, Jody. Every minute, my goodness. They don't know what's going to come, and they just have to react to it. And it's good drama.
I'm sitting here watching it. I don't know how these guys are doing this. This is absolutely incredible. We've still got 5 boats upright. Team China done very, very close to lose that there. But we're lucky enough. We've got another race. We can have another crack at this all again. And then I'm pretty sure there'll be 5 fairly excited teams to put these things back on the mooring after this race. They'd be quite happy to go and have some Cocoa Pops or a hot chocolate or whatever.
Less, just coming up to 20 seconds to go to the start of race 3, and it looks like the Aussies are up to full speed.
15 seconds. Australia trying to protect that bottom end. Phil Robertson in China are coming up and might give the Japanese a little bit of an issue here. Tommy Slingsby, Australians holding their run up. Phil Robinson's pulled the bow around first and got the start. Well done to China. Phil Robinson, after nearly putting that boat in the water, he's leading this race. It obviously never deterred him. He hasn't been too spooked about putting the bows in, that's for sure.
The Aussies were just slightly too early on their approach, and you know, in this kind of conditions, you cannot use the instrument. It's all seat of the pants.
So here they are, China. Can he hold on to this lead and take this thing into the first mark in first place for a big confidence boost for that team? It's China in first, Japan in second, Australia in third, France in fourth, and the local team in the USA coming fifth, surely.
Great leg by the Chinese. They brought in a wing trimming coach, Paul Campbell-James, a British guy who was in the last America's Cup. And to me, you can see the difference. They look
He's done it again. He just launches. As he goes into that jibe, he just goes up and the bow just launches in. That is so close to putting that thing in the water.
Kiss of death. I was about to say they look a lot smoother.
The commentator's curse has struck again. It's opened the door for Japan. So we're going to get a replay here of what just happened with the team China boat. Look at that. It's a reverse of what happened on the last one. They went from starboard to port. This one's port to starboard. My God, they've certainly had some close calls, that team China boat, that's for sure. Japan already at the bottom mark. It's such a short racetrack. They get down there very, very quick, that's for sure. So China, after losing their lead and nearly losing their boat, they go around in second spot. Australia are 2 holes in, drifting into the bottom. It's just all happening here, Shirley.
You got to just suck it up. You cannot get stressed by that. You got to play with what you've got, and that's easier said than done. And I'm sure Tommy Slingsby's trying to take a deep breath, trying to calm down, but yeah, he'll be frustrated.
That boat, that China boat, looks like it's on springs. It is bouncing around everywhere. They are just all over the place, and that's no reflection of the flight control. It's literally just the breeze hitting them, and they just can't react in time to bring the boat back down.
It's, you know, it's not such an experienced team as the Aussies and the Japanese, and you've got to get all the bits of the puzzle working together, and it could not be harder for that. In San Francisco, it was almost playbook kind of sailing, you know, finessing, but here it's all gut instinct and reaction.
Yeah, I wouldn't like to be James Wabowski, that's for sure, on Team China, because he's the man that has to stop that thing from tipping. He's got a lot on his plate. Nice little shot of him there, just launching up out of the tack, getting the boat up and foiling.
Jody, also James Wabowski, you know, he was pulled out for San Francisco, so he's only got one event under his belt, so he's really had to learn fast. And they've invested a lot in the simulator in London just to give him a chance.
And Japan are well over to the right-hand side of the course, so they've set themselves up to come into the gate. China in second, Australia in third, France in fourth, and something's gone, well, I'm guessing America, all they want to do is just finish today. They just want to get the boat around, no dramas. They've got a new bloke on the wing. I think Rome would be happy just to put that boat to bed tonight without too many dramas, that's for sure.
Yeah, no one's going to blame him for that. Japanese look quite light over on that right-hand side, but you know, as the camera turns, we can see more pressure coming from New Jersey, and there they are, up on the foils.
Yeah, up and foiling, and they'd be loving that little bit of a assist there from the wing guides to get them up into this top gate. And if they can stick on that breeze and have a look at that helicopter shot, the wind is absolutely everywhere. Nothing on that right-hand gate at all. You just see Japan starting to fall off the foils.
You know, the good guys, they seem to be able to glide through the soft patches. They keep rolling in the pressure and keep the boat moving into the next one.
8 knots. Not long ago, they were coming in there at about 25, and now they're at 8. They're still leading, but have a look at the angle they're going to try and link up to the next bit of pressure. They're sailing away from where they should be going, just so they can get that win first. This could open the door for China. Can China come in and around and pick up on this little bit of breeze? It looks like it might be coming from the left. Japan are now in it. And now it's China's turn to take some medicine. Australia coming in on starboard, but China gets into the zone. And they're in and around. Australia going to look like they're going to come to the left-hand gate. So split tacks between these guys. How will that unfold down the bottom? We will soon see.
Impressive sailing from the Chinese. You know, they nearly capsized. You think you'd want to throttle back after that. But Phil Robertson, he's not that kind of player. He pushes and he pushes, and he's currently being rewarded.
Yeah, it's good to see him up at the shiny end of the fleet, that's for sure. He's a bit of a joker off the park, and you know, you don't win world match racing titles for not being a good sailor. So he'd be loving this. Chase that Japanese team down and maybe get a win. We've seen Australia get one. We've seen Japanese get one. Can there be a third winner today? That would be pretty impressive, that's for sure.
Copy.
And they're in a great bit of pressure now, Japan.
Be a right turn. Good pressure for it. Be early tack to get back out over there, I think. Standing by to turn up. 2, 1, coming up slowly.
Nathan looks and sounds so locked into it, doesn't he? But we saw China, there was kind of a glimpse of China just accelerating behind them. This is not over, Jody.
It's awesome to listen to just the amount of communication these guys are definitely doing.
Yeah, great. High mode, go, pop, jump, pop it again. Nice match. Let's go, trip, come on, lads. Press hard, press hard. Drop in here, go again. I think we've got to roll on this, eh? Galway's in 250, yeah, settle it down, keep it H1.
You hear him groaning, you hear him.
H1, Jody, that's one hull in the water, H1.
Yeah, you hear, you know, they're grimacing themselves just because they just don't know what's about to unfold. So we got on board here with France. They're getting plenty of water, cleaning their eyes out, that's for sure. They're in fourth spot. So third spot, sorry, we'll run with third spot for France. So Japan currently leading, China in second. Let's get stopped. Japan leading, China in second, France in third, Australia going left-hand gate as we're looking at downhill into fourth, and America are still coming in fifth spot. So the two boats that weren't going too well in San Francisco.
Can the Australians come back into this? I mean, Tom Slingsby's not used to being in fourth spot. He's here to win.
Oh, they're all here to win. Don't worry about that. China's coming into some breeze. You just see the wings getting eased out rather quickly there as they start lifting that hull. They don't want that gust of breeze to come in and just smash on top of that wing and tip the boat over. Bow in there on Japan. They look a little bit loose coming into this tack. Just going around the top of America there, who looks like they might just low ride the whole race.
I mean, Jody, you've mentioned it before, there's so much comms. Everybody has to be on the same page.
And you see there what you said about Tom Slingsby not liking being back down the pack. The data shows him currently in third spot. If he can get over that right-hand side and pick a nice bit of pressure here, he'll put the wind right up China coming into this top gate. Japan haven't made the top, so that tells you there's a massive big left-hand shift over here. You hear there Phil Robinson saying try and settle it. Good luck, Jimbo, to James Wabowski. Oh my God. Australia attacking now on the imaginary ley line, while Japan is coming around the top mark. Cross here between Australia and China. Remember,
massive gain by the Aussies, huge amount of pressure, and now they're lifted as well. You know, look at their angle.
Yeah, China had a pretty slow tack, so the Australians look like they've got a nice bit of pressure over their right-hand side, so they should be able to roll over the top of China here and come into the second. Have a look at the leeway. You see the boat sliding sideways there. That's a great shot there.
You could also see the current as well. The current is coming down the Hudson. You can see that on the marks. 2 or 3 knots of current.
And Australia look like they're going to tack over and go back in towards the New York side. They don't like what they see on the left. And what will China do? China's going to attack as well, so they're going to go and chase the Australians. So everyone wants to get back down into that New York side of the course. And that's where the Japanese, who are currently leading this race, that's where they went. And I'm guessing that they're not going to be too far from that bottom mark.
So much manoeuvring Jodie. I mean, you've got to nail those manoeuvres. And in the other events, we just haven't seen the quantity.
And there we have it, Japan around the bottom mark for the last time. Today, they've got to get back up to the top, then into the finish for possibly their second win of the day. Australia in second spot. They're chasing. This is still not over. We've said it before, we're going to say it again. Anything can happen here today in New York.
Chinese have got great pace. I mean, they're really chasing the series leader, Team Australia, now. And they got good form.
Have a go at the boat speed of them just smoking down along that shore. Anybody lucky enough to be in New York watching this live will just have an awesome view of these boats just going so fast along that foreshore and heading into that bottom mark. Australia into second, coming into that bottom gate. We're sitting here now with Billy Besson and his crew for Team France, who are currently in fourth, just getting up to the top part of the mark. And we're back now with Australia, who are going down around the bottom mark for the final time in the second. Meanwhile, Japan are halfway up the work for the last time. China coming into the bottom mark for third. We're just going to listen to Japan here for a little bit, see what their thoughts are.
Take off here if we can, Parker, and then we'll tack. Okay, setting up. My wing.
They just seem a little bit calmer there, Shirley. Maybe they've just got used to the conditions a little bit more. It didn't seem to be as erratic, the chat. That was a beautiful tack. Nice tack in these conditions.
Okay, right turn to the finish from here.
Nathan Outteridge and Ian Jensen, his wing trimmer, have sailed together since they were children, since they were almost babies. You know, it's intuitive. They understand each other. They know how to communicate, and I think, you know, we're hearing that.
I'm pretty sure they sailed a boat to kindergarten together. They didn't have cars back there in Wonju where we live, so those boys have been together forever, that's for sure. Here goes the tack for the final time. Japan coming in to the top marks. And you hear there Ian Jensen say, my world, so that lets Nathan know it's time for him to cross the boat. So you can hear there the transfer of controls from each sailor to the other. They've just got to make sure that each other person on the boat knows whose actually job it is to control these things.
You call it from here, Googs.
And Australia coming in about 150 metres in towards the finish. They're pretty happy. They're going to set up for their second win of the day. And listen to the elation on board there, Shirley.
Setting up. Yeah. Going forward.
Yep.
Turning.
Well, another incredible race, and we're joined now, I'm very happy to say, all in one piece by the skipper of the GB SailGP team, Dylan Fletcher. Dylan, disappointing day for you, I think, to say the least.
Yeah, it was all going well up to the point we capsized. We'd just done a really good lap, and we'd just been discussing 5 minutes before, actually, how the #1 goal was to keep ourselves in one piece and the boat, and that someone wouldn't be finishing the day. And it was just unfortunate that happened to be us.
Well, you can see it here. You're on the downwind leg closest to Battery Park, and then you're all trapped in the upside hull. That must be quite well, it's a hell of a drop from up there.
Yeah, it feels pretty high up there, but also, you know, it's good to be, it feels very safe. You know, once we were up there, we did our head count, you know, and just tried to work out a solution as to how we were going to get down. It certainly was a lot higher than I thought up there.
And that was a nice little jump from you there as well, actually.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about a front flip, but I thought it was probably not appropriate.
Chris Draper wasn't quite as brave, was he?
I mean, it is pretty high, you know, and it's something that I've never experienced before, being new to these boats, but we did a good job. The safety team did an incredible job to get us up right quickly, and we've just got a long night ahead to get that wing fixed up ready for tomorrow.
Okay, the big question now is how much damage there is to the boat.
Yeah, so, you know, as you can see from the wing, the top flap is completely destroyed, but hopefully underneath that it's all good. And after we got it up right, all the functions of the boat were working. So fingers crossed we're in good shape.
Okay, we can go now though and take a look back at that last fleet race there. Japan, Nathan Outteridge taking 2 out of the 3 races today. He's going to be very, very pleased with himself, isn't he, Matt?
Yeah, he hit his straps again in that race. Really dominant performance. He was nearly a leg ahead coming up to the top there. And again, it was all about the tactics. I mean, he just sailed a beautifully tactical race.
And in terms of conditions, Dylan, we talked about the fact that being this gusty, it could actually be a lottery, but it seems to have favoured both skippers who've got the most experience in the F50.
Yeah, days like today, you know, I think, you know, we just talked about, you know, similar to what you could see Nathan doing, the Japanese team, of keeping it really simple, trying to work out the sort of the sensible, easy route around the racecourse. And if you could do that and manoeuvre the boat well, you're going to be in good shape. And yeah, it was good to see them back on the top step, but gutted we weren't out there racing them.
Okay, what do you think's going on the Australian team boat at the moment, Matt? There'll be a bit of a dressing down, I imagine, from Tom.
Yeah, no question, no question. They don't want to see this one start to slip away again. Yeah, I mean, they'll be happy to get second for sure, but they know they're in a bit of a match race now, and yeah, they got tomorrow. It's another day, isn't it? And they had a really, really dominant first race, so they got to lean on that and come back fighting tomorrow.
Dylan, you've had the luxury of watching today's racing from the shore. What have you learned? What will you take in tomorrow's racing that you want to say out loud on it?
Keep the stick in the sky. We already talked about that before the start of the race, but I think, yeah, I mean, we weren't trying to push it. We definitely were backed off, but I think we got hit by a 37-knot gust or something. So having seen the other guys out there today, we'll just be looking to keep it simple and try and claw some points back. And I imagine that if I was Nathan, I'd be trying to take out Tommy before the match race to be sailing against one of the other boats. So it'll be interesting to see if that happens.
Okay, interesting strategy. We'll be back very, very shortly with some more analysis and a roundup of the day's proceedings. Well, another dramatic race to finish there, but the last day's race goes to Japan SailGP team and Nathan Outteridge. After a difficult start in that first race, Matt, he really left his mark on today's racing.
What he seems to have done today is after the first race, he figured out the course, I think, quicker than everyone else did. And we could really see that in that last race, third race. He was playing that right-hand side of the race course every single time.
Okay, well, it's been quite a day here. The drama has ratcheted up from that capsize from the British team, even before the racing started, right into that toe-to-toe matchup between Australia and Japan. Tomorrow we have another 2 fleet races, and then it will be finished by that winner-takes-all match race. So those are the scheduled times. We'll be on at 5:10 local time here in New York, and then it goes on until that final match race just before 6:10. We'll look forward to seeing you then with more dramatic racing from here on the Hudson River.